Welcome, America, to Amendment1Radio.com, where your First Amendment rights are still safe to say what's on your mind. Radio.com here. And as we're sitting here looking at a few of the new articles of what's going on around the world here in politics, heck, let's just jump right in and see what kind of a mess we can sit there and upset the wonderful politicians we have that unfortunately we vote in. But yeah, there seems to be this big scare, this fiscal cliff towards the end of the year here. And a lot of people are having a major problem with it and stuff. But actually, I ran across a pretty good article here that's, let's see, White House Congress talk as fiscal cliff nears. This is what we got. Let's see here. Good old House Speaker John Boehner met with Treasury Secretary Tim Geithner on Thursday and accused Democrats afterwards of failing to outline specific cuts to avert a fiscal cliff that threatens to send the economy into recession. So, yep, boy, this is going to be a hard one to figure out, isn't it? So maybe if they go in there and quit spending and, not letting the misuse of government funding, maybe we wouldn't have to worry about fiscal cliffs. So it's already been stated that during the past year that actually over the past 4 years, I believe it was, that Obama alone, as far as personal trips and the cost of Air Force One, the Secret Services and everything, he is the most highest wasteful spending president that the United States has ever had. He's at one point, if I am mistaken, I believe it was $1.54 billion. Okay? $1.54 billion. People, do you know how much money that is? I mean, do you know how much money a $1.54 billion could sit there and help a lot of people in this country? It could sit there and help get jobs going again. It could sit there and do something to help education, to help our highways, and just, a lot of different aspects. But instead, it's more important to go take a trip for a hamburger or whatever else you decide you want to use. So, but now, granted, to be fair here, every president does this. It's just this particular president has done it at a higher scale than all the rest of them combined. So, but now back to this fiscal cliff here. No substantive progress. Boy, I can't even talk, tongue-tied here with it now. Has been made between the White House and the House in the past 2 weeks. Well, there you go. There's 2 weeks pissed down the drain. But I'm sure that, something, if we don't go out in our regular jobs, and if we don't produce in 2 weeks, usually we get fired. Why can't they? So, but in the past 2 weeks, the Ohio Republicans told reporters after the private meeting in his Capitol office, I was hopeful we'd see a specific plan for cutting spending, and we sought to find out today what the president really is willing to do. Boehner again. So, your top Senate Republican Mitch McConnell of Kentucky also offered a pessimistic take following his separate meeting with Geithner. To date, the administration has remained focused on raising taxes. There's something that we didn't hear about, raising taxes. This administration, wonder if that administration means the Obama administration, has remained focused on raising taxes and attending campaign-style events with no specific plans to protect Medicare and Social Security or reduce our national debt in a meaningful way, McConnell said in a statement. And today, they took a step backward, moving away from consensus and significantly closer to the cliff. Democrats countered that it's up to the Republicans to offer a specific roster of spending cuts. Well, some people, I sit here and I read this and, and I have a problem with the whole damn thing. And it's just like, what these clowns up there in Washington, D.C. don't understand is they were hired in, or actually elected in, by the people, for the people. This isn't about their personal beliefs, their personal gains, or anything that they can sit there and scrounge a buck and take care of everything. I mean, hey, if we want to sit there and fix all these so-called, uh, health care programs and tax programs and 401ks and all this other stuff, then I tell you what, here's what we do. Let's go back to term limits. Let's also go back to the fact that when you do your job, you get your money, and after your 4 years is up, if you don't get reelected, then guess what? You're done. Okay? You don't get no more excess money to sit there and spend on any way that you feel that it's, for a retirement package. So, and I mean, for 4 years, show me a job in the United States of America where you can work 4 years and receive a full pension for the rest of your life. I want to see it because there's nothing out there that I've ever heard of. If anybody out there has heard of anything like that, hey, call in. Let me know. 727-493-2055. This is the kind of stuff that really pisses me off with our government. We elected all of these crooks and these bums that want to go in there and continuously burn our situation to where it's worse and worse and worse. And it doesn't take a brain surgeon to figure this out. I mean, my God, if they don't do something with the tax here at the end of the year, if they don't allow the Bush credits, then guess what? They're going to go in there and the taxes are going to get raised. It's already been said that after the first of the year, we're going to have an extra $1,000 per every American person that is going to pay an extra $1,000 on their taxes. Okay, that's just on specific issues there. Now, let's go to the fact of you've got the first leg of Obamacare that really comes into full effect January 1st. And hey, guess what, people? All of everybody that sit there and says, well, hey, it was a good thing. I look at it this way. Certain aspects of that healthcare bill, God, it should have been beer. Everybody else would have been joining in left and right. So, but the bill, they should have went there and really paid attention to it. So, because now, if you don't have health care, guess what happens at the end of the year? You get hit by tax. Okay, it's going to be anywhere between, from what I was understanding, $2,500 to $4,000 per American. So, just for kicks and giggles here, let's just say that let's do a base average. Let's go worst case scenario, $4,000. Okay, $4,000 hypothetical situation here, plus that other $1,000 in extra taxes. There's $5,000. Hey, anybody out there got an extra $5,000 laying around so they can give to the government? I don't. And I know most everybody in the United States here, I know they don't either. Not unless if you're a politician, you've got money like that to sit there and throw around. But, the average American, we can't afford to throw away $5,000. So, I look at it this way. Hey, Obama and all the rest of these guys up there that want to sit there and say that they're doing so well for us, then why don't you do this? Listen to the people. Get out there. Start talking to the constituents, the people that got you elected into office. Listen. For once in your damn lives, listen. Because this is the kind of horse crap that goes on and on and on. I keep hearing, you guys have got a hell of a health care plan. Well, you know something? Throw that out and get the same health care as every American does. Throw your pension plans out. Let's see you do a pension plan like every American does. So, and hey, I tell you what, I bet you that the whole situation will get fixed under 45 days. Because do you really think that they're going to sit there and let you have that access to be on the same level as regular American people? And guess what? Government has no racial issues. As long as you are here within the borders of this great nation, you are a target. You will have to pay taxes, not unless if you're an illegal alien. So, and this is something that, it comes up. I don't know what all the tax breaks are that Mitt Romney knows, or that Barack Obama knows, or that, John McCain knows, or Susan Rice knows, or anybody like that. Average American citizens don't know these kind of things, and this is one thing where knowledge is power. Well, you know something? You guys have got the power because you've got the knowledge, because you've got people handing you stuff hand over fist. Not to mention the fact that I like how you get all these so-called little insider tips on stocks and stuff like that, but it's all legal for you guys. Now, if somebody else goes out and does it, it's illegal. Now, I don't get this. What makes our government politicians better than the everyday average American? I really want to know. I mean, because I don't see it. Last I checked, these guys go out there and, they put their clothes on the same way I do. Just the difference is they put a $3,000, $6,000 suit on, whereas I put on, hey, a $10 pair of Walmart jeans and a $5 t-shirt. And you know something? And then I go to work. So, but this is ridiculous. So much for your fiscal cliff. It's like, hey, cut your damn payroll down up there, because while the rest of the country was getting their so-called 1% and 2% cost of living allowance, it's been shown that the regular politicians came up with about 28% raises. How about all this government free stuff? Well, yeah, you froze it. You froze the pay on our military personnel. You froze the pay on our government postal employees. You froze the pay on pretty much all, your regular governmental jobs that have nothing to do with politics. So we don't have lobbyists and people like that that'll come to us and sit there and say, hey, look, man, if you look the other way, we'll give you this money for, your vote over here to sit there and make this bill pass. Well, hey, American people, here we go. Why don't we start up a petition? Because come January 1st, I've got a great idea and I'm really going to push it out there. And I think it should be pretty good, because I'm going to sit there and I'm going to link up to the American people and sit there and tell them flat out, hey, look, this is how we impeach politicians. Okay? Not just presidents, but all politicians. People, we have to have accountability for our government. Because think of it this way, Americans, we did not cause the fiscal cliff. None of us did. Our government did. We, Americans, did not cause the national debt. Our government did. We elected these officials. What have they done for us? Period. I mean, you look at all these people that sit there and say, hey, I got a free Obama phone. Well, guess what? You're going to pay for it dearly. Because where you may think you got a free phone, you're going to pay for it in the end. All the Medicare, Medicaid, food assistance. And yes, I'm guilty in a certain aspect on certain things of it. Because, hey, everybody's down on their luck, but it's not something I'm going to sit there and live with. So, it's like, people, we have to make the government be held for the accountability of the United States. We can no longer sit back and say, oh, well, God, wasn't it great? He got reelected. Well, something, that's great. And I mean, don't get me wrong, people, because, hey, I think Obama is a very well-educated, prominent man there. I think he's a very good speaker, and I think that, hey, he should continue his speeches, and because he's very good at it. Now, as far as running the country, if you're going to run the country, then I tell you this, Mr. President, get off your ass, quit going on talk shows, quit sitting there and, wanting to be a so-called rock star, and why don't you become the president? Why don't you sit there and get off your ass, Go to Congress, go to the House, go to the Republicans and say, hey, look, all you old bunch of bastards, you people have sit there and screwed the American people so bad and put us in such a bad situation financially that, it's going to be very hard to pull out of. My best suggestion is to write each one of your congressmen, your senators, and all these guys, especially the guys up in the House and stuff that's been there for 50 years, write them and tell them they need to resign because it's ridiculous. We can no longer sit there and keep hearing all this baloney that we hear. I mean, my God, we got generals that are having affairs. Well, you know something? That's the main topic of the news. You know something? I don't give a rat's ass who he was out poking or doing anything like that. Same thing with Clinton. I didn't care that he was out cigaring Monica Lewinsky or anything like that. What I do care about is this. Clinton didn't go in there and tell Lewinsky that, hey, guess what? Here's a bunch of military secrets, and this is the way it is. Keep your mouth shut. Don't say nothing. But Petraeus did. Same thing with General Allen. This is what we're hearing on the news. So, and it's just like, and for Petraeus to sit there and release a letter that sits there and says, oh, I royally screwed up. You know something, dude? You should have been thinking about that when you sit there and you were in between ooh and ah and having your little fling going on there, because not only did you royally screw up, you ignorant moron, is the fact that you jeopardize your own men's lives. You did not go in there and do something in an aspect to where you were doing something to where you could go in there and satisfy your own greedy needs. You jeopardized American soldiers. And guess what? We've got an outcome that somewhere's in here, I believe that's probably going to all tie back to where even Susan Rice and with the Benghazi stuff that happened there with our ambassador that got killed and the other 3 Americans that got killed, guess what? We're back to this. Accountability. Who is accountable for those deaths? I want somebody's heads on this. The American people should be able to go in there and have somebody's heads on this. This shouldn't be one of these deals, well, hey, we're just going to sweep it under the rug and, collateral damage is part of war, Oops, we made a mistake. Oops. No. American people, you don't need to settle for this. We elected them. We, the people, can take them out of office through legal proceedings. This is where you need to sit there and start thinking about certain aspects. Because if these people want to sit there and continue to run our country and run it into the ground, then we need to have action to where we can stop them. Because no more. I mean, my God, people, think of this. We had great presidents in years in the past. Okay, look at John F. Kennedy. They said that he didn't last long enough in office to go in there and screw things up. That's why he was a great president. Well, I don't know about that. I can't see that. Here's a man that came out with an intelligent speech. Ask not what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country, or vice versa. I thought that was, that's a historical speech. It shows the man was a great man, and I think that's great. But, before then, you had the other great presidents. But let's go to Bush Sr. Here's his great quote of the day. Read my lips. No new taxes. 7 days later, after he made that wonderful pitch, our taxes were raised. It was one of the highest tax increases that was ever given by a president. 7 days later. Really? That was his claim to fame. Then we've got good old Bill Clinton. His major claim to fame is going to be a quotation that goes something like, I did not have sex with that woman. Okay. Well, guess what? This is something that's going to live on your legacy of being a president. But now here's the thing. You also were a very likable president. You also did a lot of very good things. You also, even one of the only presidents in history that gave us a surplus. But then comes along Bush Jr. Oh my God. You know, here's a guy that they sit there and they made fun of and said that he looked like God, what was it? Mad Max on Mad Magazine, or that one I forget his name. But the kid with the big ears and stuff. It was always funny. But the only thing I've ever seen or heard any great speech out of Bush's mouth was something like, let's see, when he was in a classroom and for 18 minutes he sit there while the towers were knocked down, and the only thing, the look on his face was, duh, really? You're going to sit there while you've got Americans that are dying, leaping out of buildings, and all you can think of is just sitting there and going, I wonder if I should leave. I'm sorry, people. It's my opinion, and I don't agree with it. You know, but hey, let's get past him. Here's a guy that personally I still believe that he was Dick Cheney's puppet. So, because it seems like whatever Cheney wanted, Cheney got. So hell, look at the Gulf oil spill. Hey, guess what, folks? Halliburton was the lease of the rig that blew up out there. All that oil went spilling. Now, what's actually really interesting is the fact that, if I am mistaken, Dick Cheney was the CEO of Halliburton. And, bam, he made a lot of interesting money. But what really surprises me is the fact that Dick Cheney's group there, I think it was like 11 or 17 days, somewhere, it was like a week to 2 weeks, before that oil rig went up, they bought the cleanup company that does all the oil disasters. They went in there and bought them for actually pretty cheap. Now, the situation is pretty interesting. Think of an oil rig that produces, let's say, in 1 year's time, $200 million a year. Just one oil rig that drills and produces that. Well, guess what? Blow it up and let it throw crap out in the Gulf. You make somewheres to the X of, I think it was like $250 million a month. They got paid billions of dollars. So it makes you really wonder that how greedy are the politicians? How much are they willing to sit there and sacrifice to put that extra dollar in their pocket? I mean, look at Katrina during Bush. How many times did the major media sit there and show people with no food, no water, dead bodies floating on the side of the road? And they were sitting there saying that, hey, well, we can't get nothing to them. Well, I'm sorry. You know something? You have military helicopters. You've got helicopters that can carry in major supplies. But nobody did that. And I still don't get the whole situation on that, because, it's just really, that was a terrible, tragic situation. And I think that, hey, guess what? Our government, yes, they failed the people of Louisiana, because, my heart was out for them people, because, it's just, even the people, we're talking major people, celebrities, regular people, politicians, all of them, were affected because of government issues, red tape. And it was just like, oh, well, if you don't do what you're supposed to do, then we can't give you what you need over here. But, I got to give hats off to a lot of the people out there, because when it came down to the American people that sit there and said, hey, look, you know something? We're going to get out here and we're going to make sure that we can get these people taken care of. Americans pulled out of their pocket and they started pulling money out left and right, food, clothing, everything, to sit there and help these people every which way they possibly could. And you know something? That's a great thing. But, but it all boils back to greed. Greed with our government. This is why we have problems with a fiscal cliff. This is why we have problems that, Democrats, Republicans, they can't make their minds up because they don't like what one or the other has to say. Well, you know something? Screw both of them, because what they don't understand is they're not there to sit there and tell us how great their party is or how much they disconcern anything. Their job is to be taking care of the American people. I mean, because, hey, you know something? If you two can't get along, then get out, resign, quit today. But you won't get, hey, once you resign, you get no golden parachutes. You don't get no more, free health care or free money for the rest of your life. No, get out. People, you need to really start thinking. We have a government that went in there and is making you buy health care. Everybody keeps saying it's health care. Hell, even I'm guilty of it. But you know something? It is a health care tax. Even the Supreme Court said it was not constitutional to call it a health care program. It is a health care tax. And it still blows my mind that the Supreme Court changed the fact that they were supposed to rule on whether or not it was constitutional as a law. But in fact, they sit there and said, well, it's no good as a law. It's unconstitutional. But I'll tell you what, we can turn it into a tax and you're good to go. Really? I thought the Supreme Court was supposed to uphold the Constitution and watch out for the American people. It doesn't work like this anymore. Our Constitution, it's no longer we, the people of the United States of America. It's we, the politicians of United States of government. All you people out there, I mean, my God, it takes a few minutes to look and see what's going on. Hey, here's a good one for you. They say unions were like the best thing ever. Back in the day, 30, 40 years ago, maybe they might have done really good. But let's think about something. United Auto Workers put in millions, I mean mega millions of dollars into the Romney and the Obama campaign. Now, what gets me is both of you clowns up there sit there and say that you want to bring work back to America. Yet you let the United Auto Workers go in there and throw in $400-500 million into your contribution, your campaign contributions. And yet all of a sudden, the next thing you hear is, oh, well, GM is working through our government that they're doing a company in Australia. Obama gave the approval for GM to do a company in China. So it's like, wow, you know something? All you sorry politicians that sit up there and lied to everybody again, here's stuff that, these people go out there and guess what? The American people had a false hope, a false security, because your so-called hope and change. And then this last campaign was forward. Well, guess what? You know what that forward means? It means bend over, America, because they're driving forward right through you. Because nobody wanted to sit there and take the time to look and see what both of these candidates had to offer. And then everybody sits there. I know they're going to say, well, we had to pick one of the two evils. No, you had 14 different people to pick from. 14, not 2. So, I don't get where, a lot of people didn't look. I just hope that maybe by some incredible grace of God, that maybe for once, if the Democrats and the Republicans can look down and see who all they're stepping on, maybe they might want to come down the ladder there and hang out with us ordinary people, and maybe they'll sit there and listen. Nah, that ain't going to happen. We know it ain't. So, hell, it was good to say that, though, wasn't it? So, they don't give a rat's ass. That's what it all boils down to. You people need to get on the phones. You need to start calling up your congressmen, all these clowns. You need to start calling up, the House, call up D.C., call up the White House, call up any damn body to listen. Call up Rush Limbaugh and start telling them, hey, you know something? America's down. We're kicked. We're hurting. We're tired of it. So get something done. All these government grants that go out for these big green energy deals. People, we've got $1 trillion that was wasted in the past 2 years on green energy. $1 trillion. That's a fact. That's not an exaggeration. So now we need to figure out, hey, guess what? What do you do? Well, guess what? We can't do any damn thing because the money's gone. Somebody's sitting living in Tahiti thinking, boy, oh boy, we sit there and we dupe them American idiots because nobody's going to go looking for the money. I mean, because the bottom line is, hey, if you want to see how corrupt the American government is, follow the money. Because it's going to be very interesting to see how far and how long, this physical cliff, all this extra money and everything that's going to happen. Because here's another thing. Being that they're trying to cut the Bush tax breaks, do you know how many major corporations have already said that they are going to be cutting jobs January 1st? Because they have too many employees and cannot get their benefit of having to pay the extra tax on the Obamacare tax. So instead of sitting there and paying the extra money on it, they're going to lay the people off. So that way they go down to the quota of what they're supposed to have, and then they don't. Then they won't be affected by it. So hey, touche there, Democrats and Republicans. You guys did a nice thing. You came out with a health care program that you're probably going to take out 1 million jobs. So, but, and, good old Harry Reid and all these idiots, they make me sick, and especially that one pig nasty bitch. And I'll sit there and say it every time. I just can't stand that ignorant broad. So, and it's just like unbelievable. It's just like, God, that lady drives me nuts. So, definitely. But yeah, I'll have to say who she is here after a bit. I'm going to hold it as a surprise. So, but yeah, it's got on here also. Reid noted that the polls show strong public support for newly reelected President Barack Obama's proposal to extend all expiring tax cuts except for those that apply in incomes over $200,000 for individuals and $250,000 for couples. Legislation that Boehner and other Republicans say would harm the economy rather than help it. Yeah, well, you know something, people? Here's the thing. We've become a day and age to where we are going to penalize people for being successful. And you know something? I'm not here to sit there and kiss rich people's ass because, that's not what it's about. It's about the fact that, you still in America, you still have that right to get out there and do whatever you need to do to make your mark in society. And if you do it good and it works out well and everybody wants it, I mean, it's like being a rock star. You go out there, you get one song, everybody loves it, and overnight you're an instant millionaire. I mean, my God, how many stupid things have we seen people that went in there and actually invented, and overnight they're multimillionaires? So, I mean, hey, Any of you people out there that's got kids and had to have rubber bands that were shaped like animals? Don't you wish you had? Don't you wish you thought of that? Because hey, let me tell you something. I guarantee you, the person that sit there and did that and patented it, they're probably living very, very comfortably for the rest of their life. So, but in the meantime, we want to penalize those people for being successful. It's just like going out and winning the Powerball. You go out and win the Powerball, and guess what? $550 million, or I think it was 565 altogether. Now, if you go in there and take the lump sum settlement, then you pay a fee. And if I ain't mistaken, I believe it was $260 million or $40 million, something like that, is what the people get. Now that's just for taking the lump sum fee. That's the fine you pay for it. So, but now the crazy thing is that as soon as you do that, depending on what state you're in, let's say you live in Ohio. If I ain't mistaken, I believe Ohio's got a state tax. So you got let's say $40 million. Well, you go in there, you get $240 million. Great. You're doing good. No. You forgot. Now you're going to get taxed. Okay. You've got federal tax that you're going to get hit with. Rule of thumb, 30%. Now you go out there and you think, well, that's not too bad. Oh, no. Wait. We now have state tax. Yep. So now you've lost more money. So when it's all said and done, out of that $240 million, you're looking at about, if I'm mistaken, I think it was like $140 million out of $550 million. I mean, granted, yes, you're going to live comfortable the rest of your life. There's no doubt about that. So, but the headaches involved with it are going to be astronomical, but you'll find that out. So, but now out of $565 million, you walk out the door with like $150 million, which is fine. But now, where did the rest of that money go? I mean, because out of 100, let's say, let's even round it out, 150. There's $400 million that went somewhere. Did it go for education? I don't know. Did it go for fixing the roads? I don't know. Hell, I want to see the lotto in Florida. I want to see that $10 billion that's been spent on schools, been spent on education. Because if that was true, why do we have so many teachers that are out of jobs? Why do we have oversized classrooms? So, yeah, what a farce that is. So, and even on the fiscal cliff, the whole problem, even on this article, I mean, because, I like to go all over the road with it and everything, but I like to sit there and show the different examples of different ways of thinking and stuff that, it opens up, and how it not only does it affect one part of your life, it affects damn near everything you do in your life. America, home of the free and the brave. We still got brave people. Free? No. People, this country is no longer free. In order to survive in this country, you've got to pay. And you're going to pay dearly. So, and I mean, think about it. For those of you who sit back and say, well, this guy's a damn lunatic. Where the hell does he come up with this crazy stuff? Well, seriously, think about it. Every time the government wants a little bit of extra cash, your gas goes up. Every time we go into like a certain holiday, gas goes down. You get out of the holiday, gas goes up. You go into the summer months, well, they have to change it from winter gas to summer gas. Really? I don't get the difference between winter gas and summer gas. That's almost like saying, hey, when my yard grows out front, I've got winter grass that's really thick and nice, and then in summertime it thins out so that way it's really thin and grows better. Nah, I think it's all probably pretty much the same, but we're getting doped into it. One of those nice little 1-2 punches, rope a dope. You see one coming, but you don't see the other one, and it hits you. So, but and I mean, it's ridiculous. I mean, my God, I even worked on the oil rigs offshore in Louisiana years and years ago. I even seen a geological map from an environmental engineer that was working for Gulf Oil who showed me a geological map for the entire Gulf. And what this man told me, I mean, this is like 20 years ago. Oh my God, it's even longer than that. Hell, getting old. But the Gulf of Mexico is one of the richest oil veins in the world. In the world. It's also one of the richest natural gas veins in the world as well. We've got enough oil to where it could sit there and run our country for over 300 plus years in the Gulf of Mexico, is what I was told. We're finding oil in North Dakota and South Dakota in those areas. I mean, this is the kind of stuff. It's just like, but we're still killing jobs. There's a lot of bad things happening here that, it all boils back to government. I mean, people, when you go out here and you buy stuff, you're paying taxes. Even on winning the lotto there. One thing I forgot to say in there is, something? You can have all that money, even if you only got $100 million out of it. Here's the thing. If you're in a state that has state tax, do you know that when you go to sit there and let's say you want to give one of your relatives $100,000, they get taxed? Capital gains and gift tax. It gets double taxed. So, and it's just like, there you go. It's like the old joke about taxation without representation. Hey, folks, I want representation. If you're going to tax me, then I want to know why, where, when, the whole 9 yards. Why are you doing it? Because I don't want it. But yet, it still goes back to, hey, we trust our government. I mean, because here, even we got on this right here, it says the dueling news conferences marked an acceleration in the pace of bargaining, if not in movement toward an agreement on an issue that leaders of both parties say they want to solve. Oh, man. Well, what do you know? Then it goes in here and says the speaker has said that Republicans are willing to endorse higher tax revenues as part of any deal to prevent across the board tax increases and spending cuts scheduled to take effect at year's end, but only as a part of a deal that includes savings from Medicare and other government benefit programs. Doesn't sound too bad. But the problem here is this. Washington has to realize it is no longer about them. They can no longer sit there and say, hey, Washington is trying to do this. Washington is trying to do that. No, they're not. Washington, D.C., that White House, and all the major monuments were built by American people. It was paid for by American people. Blood, sweat, tears, death, the whole 9 yards. It was a concept of what made this country a great country. Because they worked their asses off, they went out there and did it, and they made it happen. Granted, things were a hell of a lot different there than they are now. Because they had a place to run from England to come over here and start something. Well, guess what? There's no other place you can run now. Go to another country and see where you stand. stay in this country and you know where you're going, because our government keeps us divided as a nation. As long as this nation stays divided, we will never, ever get this taken care of. I mean, think about this. Think about it racially, okay? And I don't mean to say that because of to say that I'm racist or anything like that, but think about this in a racial matter, because the best way that I could sit there and even kind of say it is like this. Rosa Parks on the bus back in the 60s, she made a stand. And you know something? God bless that lady for having, the gonads to stand up and say, you know something? I've had enough. I am not a second-class citizen. I am an American. And, and basically, here's a lady's actions that, will live in infamy. So, and it's just like the same thing that we have in government. I look at it this way. I think of it like this. With Rosa Parks, she made a statement that wanted to sit there and say, okay, hey, you know something? White America sits there and they've got their rules, and that, white is white, black is black. There's no getting along. Everybody's social. Everybody, they're social and to each other. That's it. Well, we're kind of like in a situation that's kind of like that, because we have the American people and we have our government. The problem is it's reversed. The government tells us what we are going to do, and we do it, because nobody will take the time to find out what job the government actually has in America. They can sit there and make all the laws they want, but when was the last time you seen a law that actually was made to help the American people? Especially from major, massive politicians and presidents. You know how many billions of dollars that George Bush made? That man made a lot of money. Clinton, millions. All the presidents have made major amounts of money. But it's just, they need to sit there and they need to start thinking that, hey, you want to sit there and think that your corporate America buddies are the ones that sit there and got you elected, which in actuality they probably did. So we need to go to a voting system even that goes by popular vote. No more electoral votes, because that doesn't fly no more. The electoral system is broken. Our campaign system, the way that the finances work, are broken, because we never had it set up to where outside the United States people could contribute to the presidential candidacy. But that was changed with Barack Obama in his first term. So that's why him and Romney both were able to raise so much money, because I would love to see where all of the money, as far as the overseas connections, where it actually really came from. But, the American public will never find that out. And the worst part about it is most of them don't care. We only piss and moan and bitch when the time comes that it affects us. Well, this is the problem, America. We need to go in there and say, hey, look, okay, we've got a problem. $16 trillion in debt. That's a problem. It's a major problem. So, and it's just like, hey, we got to get something going, because, this ain't going to fly. Not no more. Because people, we're running out of time. We need to go in there and start getting stuff set up to where, hey, we can make things happen and really get going, especially with, the money aspect. Government has to do a major, massive change. It's almost like the first Batman movie come out when old Jack Nicholson says, hey, this town needs an enema. Well, guess what? Washington needs an enema. Yep, DC. So I think it's about time that, because even myself, as much as I sit here and say about this, I need to start going in there and start looking up all of these people to where we can start getting their phone numbers, their addresses of all these politicians. And we need to really start, hey, making our voices heard, because no more can American people sit around and get kicked in the teeth. We can't sit around and wait for something to happen tomorrow that somebody's just going to sit there and say, oh, hey, well, we turned the economy around. Everything's good. You can go back to making a lot of money now. It's not going to happen on that. And as far as my view for the year of 2013, I think in the first few months, we're going to see a few things that are going to start to look pretty good to us. But that's only because of tax returns. I think what's really going to happen is we're going to see a recession that's going to hit, and I think it's going to hit pretty damn bad this time. So I used to sit there and have credit with, credibility of Donald Trump, but after his past few escapades, really, it's like, Don, sorry about your luck there, brother, but, stick to doing an apprentice, don't say anything more. You done basically look like the biggest fool walking. But I still admire what you do. So, and it's just, people need to sit there and figure it out. So here you go. Here's a good thing here. Let's see. Obama is mounting a public campaign to build support and leverage in the negotiations, appearing at the White House with middle-class taxpayers and launching a campaign on Twitter to bolster his position. Are you kidding me? We got a president that wants to sit there and do a Twitter account so that way he can sit there and say, well, it gives me a stronger voice. No, you need to get your ass off Twitter. You need to be sitting there and going in there and telling the people, hey, look, you guys work for America. America does not work for you. So this is what we're going to do. This is how we're going to do it. And you know something? We're going to make it happen. I mean, how many times have people sit there and said that, hey, you got to do something, make a decision. Even if it's a wrong decision, make a decision. I mean, that would be like me saying, hey, this ain't going to work too good, but hey, I'll go get a Twitter account and get people on my side. No. You go in there and you get your head out your ass, and you need to sit there and start telling people, hey, look, we're here to build America. And I think the first thing you need to do is shut down the idea of GM having a plant in China. That GM plant needs to go right back in America. It needs to sit there and get back on the scale, get back on the drawing board, find a piece of property, get it built. And you know something? Let's start importing cars to China. Make them pay. They want it so bad, make them pay. And guess what? Then you'll be able to create 5,000, 10,000 jobs. Same thing with Ford. Ford's going down to South America. Well, hey, you know something, Ford? Build your ass another plant here in the United States. Let's get Americans back to work. Same thing with Dodge. Keep your ass back in the country here. All these major corporations should, if worst case scenario, give them a hell of a tax break. Keep them here in the United States. Get them to where we can sit there and turn the economy around for the American people, and we'll be able to make a change. We'll be able to make some hope, and we'll be able to get out of this recession within a year to 2 years' time. You'll come out looking like the best saint that ever came from the clouds as far as being a president. So, but at least I can sit there and say this much. Mr. President and all the rest of the cabinets and everybody else in there, America is going to start watching you. They're going to start saying that, oh, wow, you know something? Here he is. He's out here on Jay Leno or something like that instead of getting something done. I want to know as an American citizen, who's going to be put on trial for Benghazi? Who is the accountable party that should be held accountable for the murders in Benghazi? Same thing with the war. I think you should really go in there and take a good hard look at those so-called weapons of mass destruction. Because you know something? I still think you should go after Bush and Cheney and put them both in prison for life. So, and the worst part about it is even your administration has still supported that war. And one of your biggest campaign promises, I'm going to have all my guys home within a year. Well, guess what? Didn't happen. Because there's still troops in Kuwait that are doing so-called security details. But we also have troops in Afghanistan. So go figure that one. But hey, America, get mad. Get real mad. Start thinking about overseas. All these jobs that are going overseas. Start sending letters to GM. Start sending letters to Dodge. Start sending letters to Ford. And guess what? If you start sitting there and telling these people, hey, we'll boycott you. If you want to go overseas so bad, then I'll tell you what. American people, boycott Dodge, Ford, and Chevy. Start buying Toyota. Then when they start claiming that they need another bailout, well, guess what? Let the Chinese bail you out. Because I don't think Americans are going to sit there and pull another $800 billion out of their pockets to pay for you clowns and your golden parachutes and wasting a lot of our time and money. So, but definitely, all I can say is, hey, we need all the help we can on this so-called fiscal cliff to sit there and make some kind of a difference here. And American people, hey, if there's only 2 or 3 people listening, then what you need to do is go in there and do this. Call up Washington, D.C. and say, hey, I want to know who I can talk to sit there and give my opinion on meeting with the president. Because, hey, he wants to have middle-class taxpayers to appear with him on his Twitter account to sit there and get their opinions. Well, you know something? If he wants your opinion, call him. Call all of them. Call them all out. Because remember this, they work for the American people. The American people do not work for them. So, and as long as you start realizing this, then guess what? We start getting more jobs. We start getting this economy turned around. Once we do that and get it going, things will start working better. And, you know, and that's just where we're at. So, you know, and it's going to be a hard fought road because people, next year is not going to be an easy year. I don't see it as being that. I hope I'm 100% wrong. That way, hey, people can call me up a year from now and say, you're an idiot. You didn't know what you was talking about. But I honestly don't think it's going to happen like that. So, but anyways, we're out of time here. We're done on our show. Hope to have you guys listen in next week. And hey, give us a call next week. So definitely. But we will look forward to talking to you next Thursday. Take care. Same time, same channel. And we'll catch you later. Take care. We're out.
No matter how hopeless, no matter how far, to fight for the right without question or pause.